difference between a scene in a film and a moment in real life is closer than you realize. That train ride scene in Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind is just one of those scenes that sticks with me, and I know that does for many other people. And the thing is it's really just two people having a conversation once they just met on a train. It's nothing that we can't recreate in our daily lives. So I started to think, why are certain scenes ones that kind of linger in our subconscious, and why had I romanticized this specific scene at all, being aware of this? What I realized is that the magic that film captures is already within our daily lives. We just sometimes forget that cinema is only a reflection of human experience, not the other way around. So the question becomes, how can we shift our mindset to notice and, I suppose, romanticize these moments while you're still in them? I've compiled a small list of fun ways that you might enjoy trying out to make your life feel more cinematic. Not in the way that you're mimicking film or acting, but to realize that you're kind of already in your own movie. You just have to start directing it. And I suppose every good director first needs tools to sharpen their creative vision. And behind every great scene is careful thinking and problem solving. And that's why I've been using Brilliant, who is also the sponsor of this video. Brilliant is a learning platform that helps you become a sharper thinker and problem solver. They offer thousands of interactive lessons across math, science, programming, and even AI. Lately, I've been working through their course on logic, which trains your brain to think more creatively, which almost feels like shaping your brain to edit life the way that a filmmaker edits a scene. I've already noticed myself being a bit quicker in conversation, with less of those awkward, spaced out pauses. It's honestly a small daily practice, but it's had a noticeable impact. So if you're ready to sharpen your skills, start learning for free by going to brilliant.com/Vanessa Garza. You can also scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description. Brilliant is also giving my viewers 20% off of an annual premium subscription, which gives you daily, unlimited access to everything on their platform. Thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring this video. Okay, so before getting into this list, I do want to acknowledge that while the title of this video sounds like I'm suggesting that we all romanticize our lives by pretending that we're in some film, what I really mean is more about being present in the moments of your daily life and recognizing the cinematic qualities within them. And maybe the best way to start noticing this is with something invisible but powerful, and that is to create your own soundtrack. In a film, the soundtrack sets the mood, and it tells us how we should be feeling during certain scenes. And it's pretty much the same with your daily life. I mean, you get to choose your own soundtrack. And when you take some time to organize your playlist, whether it takes the shape of one large collection of your favorite songs, or like me, you like to create a new playlist for every month, the end result is your own personal score that makes your daily life feel a bit more cinematic. It's not that the world changes or your surroundings do. Music itself doesn't add anything that wasn't already there, but it has a powerful way of making you see with the eyes of someone that knows that they're in a scene worth remembering. And once you notice that, you'll start to notice everything else. So if you're thinking about doing this, but you're wondering how to go about organizing your playlists, you really can't go wrong with doing it monthly. I've been organizing my Spotify as monthly playlists for years now, and while it kind of began as a way to refresh songs once they started to sound overplayed, it ended up being more of a time capsule. Like, when I go back to June of 2017, it pulls me right back into certain places and memories, and just like a past version of myself. I'll leave a link to my Spotify if you want to see how I've been organizing my playlist lately. It's mostly Radiohead and Kate Bush and Stevie Nicks, but you're more than welcome to have a look. But honestly, clothing too and your wardrobe can have the same effect. When I look back on photos of me in old outfits, it equally pulls me into this version of myself from that season of my life, which is why it's perfect for my next point in this list. So if music is the soundtrack of your life, then your wardrobe is essentially the costume design and how you choose to show up in each scene. So the same idea applies here, where it's all about intentionality. You don't want your music to feel like background noise, and you probably don't want your clothes to just feel random or like you're just borrowing from passing trends. I guess I just love the idea of being recognized just by wardrobe alone, in the sense that clothing can give people a glimpse into who you are before you ever introduce yourself. But I still distinctly remember one instance when I was 18, working as an insurance agent of all things, and on one of my first days in the office, a woman comes up to me and she asked me out of nowhere if I was an artist, but she kind of asked me more in a statement, like, you're an artist, right? I guess I was taken aback because I was in work clothes, obviously, and I didn't have any distinct makeup or jewelry or just anything that really hinted at what my life outside of the workplace would look like. And yet she was still able to pick up on that. So maybe sometimes it's not about the clothes, but about the presence that you carry. And one of the ways that we do that is through the way that we speak, which made me think about how dialogue in film is distinct in how it's written for each character. And the words that you choose, whether they're spoken out loud or just little phrases that you repeat to yourself, carry just as much weight in defining your character. And that is the next point on this list. When you think of a movie that you love, it's often not just the visuals that you remember, but certain lines of conversation exchanged between your favorite characters that stick with you. In that same way, when you express yourself in daily life, the way that you speak and the references that you drop all create this unique script of your own story. And whether or not you realize that your dialogue is constantly being shaped by what you surround yourself with and the media that you consume. If you read a lot of classics, you might find yourself using older phrasing and developing a broader vocabulary where eventually your conversational delivery might take on a literary pacing. Or if you watch witty, fast-paced shows like Gilmore Girls, you might pick up that quick rhythm too. It's less about forcing yourself to sound a certain way and more about noticing how you already have your own way of speaking. And that noticing is the heart of what it means to romanticize your life. The words that you choose, whether they're inherited phrases from your parents or picked up by your best friends or shaped by your favorite books, become part of your dialogue. And that expanding from spoken dialogue, I think about the inner monologue that's constantly running and the way that you speak to yourself, whether it's encouraging or critical. It all frames how you move through and see your life. And even written dialogue, whether it's written in a journal or in a text, or what you say in complete silence, from your facial expressions to gestures and body language. When you start to notice all these little things, you realize your life already has a kind of script unique to you. And that brings me to my next piece in my list, and that is the setting. Just as every film is shaped not only by its dialogue, it's also impacted by the spaces and environments where the story unfolds. As someone that lives in Chicago, I often feel like I'm walking through backdrops of movies that were filmed here, like Ferris Bueller and Home Alone or The Dark Knight. And maybe not literally, but if you look closely, your daily backdrops can feel cinematic too. I mean, think about something as simple as your morning coffee. You have the option to opt for something like Starbucks or Dunkin', where the experience is usually rushed and pretty much the same as the day before. Or you can step into a cozy local coffee shop, where you feel like you can stay for a while and enjoy the ambience of the community. And chances are the coffee tastes better too. I think the same goes for your daily commute too, where you can drive from point A to B and take the same expressway day after day. Or you can trade it for a bus ride or a train ride and let yourself look out the window like a character in a film. When you make these small but intentional choices of scenery, even on busy days, I think your perspective shifts and you start to notice how easily ordinary moments can take on a cinematic quality. The way the trajectory of my day and even just my mood improves by just being intentional about where I choose to work really shifts my whole perspective of the day. And on the times that I do stay at home, I always ask myself, would I or anyone watch a movie about me if I was just sitting on the couch all day, working on my laptop for 8 hours straight? Probably not. And you equally deserve to give yourself these healthy shifts in background. And when we step back into our homes, what if we start to look at our space the way that a filmmaker looks at a set? Not just as a place to live, but as the stage where your story takes place. I was thinking about this idea of intentionally collecting objects and choosing furniture in a way that it creates a backdrop so unmistakably yours that even if someone close to you had never seen your home, they would still recognize it as yours the moment that they saw it. Which adds to one last point I have of this list, because I think it's been the biggest change for me, and that's this idea of noticing the montage moments of your life. Like those little glimpses in a film that don't necessarily move the story forward, but they still remind you to appreciate the present moment. Personally, it takes a lot for me to not constantly drift into thinking about what's next, but when I catch myself pausing to notice something as fleeting as a rainbow on a busy day or a sunset outside my window, they feel like the quiet frames in between the big scenes, but somehow those are the ones that stay with me. And of course, in any good film, those quiet frames only matter because of who's in them, the character at the center of all of it, which brings me to my last point, where this idea of casting yourself comes in. At the risk of sounding cliche, you are already the main character. And that doesn't mean living perfectly or changing some idealistic version of yourself. It just means recognizing that your story is already happening to you and around you. Some days you set the scene yourself, and other days the world throws some surprise twist at you. But both are part of the film that you're already in. And of course, like any good film, Some of the most memorable scenes are the ones that you never planned for, and the unscripted takes often end up being the ones you keep.